She sold pure water under Ojuelegba bridge at midnight, praying not to die. A trailer almost crushed her. A stranger in a G-Wagon saved her life and gave her 2 million cash. Her own stepsister thanked him by putting rat poison in her soup. This is the true story of how the poorest girl in Makoko made the richest man in Lagos call her daughter. And how the wickedest stepsister in Nigeria picked up a knife at 5 a.m. Not to kill, but to protect her. The rain had just stopped, but the ground under Ojuelegba bridge still steamed like a witch's pot. Neon lights from passing trailers flashed red, yellow, green across the black puddles. The air smelled of wet earth, diesel, and the sharp bite of fear. Adana was 22 years old, but tonight she felt older than the city itself. She balanced a wide plastic tray on her head, 50 sachets of pure water, each one tied with thin rubber band, and moved between the crawling buses and Okadas. Her wrapper was soaked at the hem, clinging to her calves like a second skin. Every time a danfo splashed dirty water on her, she only closed her eyes for 1 second and kept walking. Pure water. Cold pure water, oh. Her voice was hoarse. She had been shouting since 4 p.m. Mama Ngozi had counted the money in the morning and declared, "Your sister Chioma needs 35,000 for her makeup course in Lekki. You must bring that money tonight, or you will sleep outside with the dogs." Chioma herself was somewhere in Surulere right now, wearing Adana's only good dress, the wine lace Adana saved 2 years to buy. Chioma had laughed while forcing her wider hips into it, ripping the side seam on purpose. "You will soon marry pure water, so leave fine dress for people that have future." Now Adana walked the dangerous bridge alone. Agboros eyed her tray, calculating. One of them, a tall boy called Skodo with tribal marks like lightning, blocked her path. "Fine girl, how far? You still owe me from last week." Adana's heart slammed against her ribs. She had paid him last week. She knew it. But Skodo's eyes were red with weed and hunger for trouble. "I paid you," she whispered. "Lie." He snatched 3 sachets, bit one open, poured the water over his head like celebration. His boys laughed. "Bring the balance, or I scatter everything." Adana's fingers shook as she reached into her bra for the small roll of notes she had fought all day to gather. 34,800. She needed only 200 more. Skodo counted it slowly, deliberately, then looked up with a slow smile. "E be like say you shot oh." That was when the trailer lost control. It happened in less than 3 seconds. Horn blasting like an angry god, tires screaming, the massive truck swerved to avoid a goat and came straight for the crowd under the bridge. People scattered like ants. Adana turned to run, but her leg slipped on the wet ground. The tray flew off her head. Sachets burst midair like transparent fireworks. She fell hard, palms scraping concrete. The truck missed her by inches, the side mirror tore her wrapper, leaving her half of it hanging like a flag of surrender. When the dust settled, her money was gone, trampled, soaked, carried away by running feet. Her tray was cracked. The remaining sachets floated in dirty water like dead fish. Adana knelt in the puddle, breathing like someone who had just escaped death but lost everything else. Rain started again, soft at first, then hard, as if the sky itself was crying with her. Skodo stood over her, laughing. "See your life outside." She didn't answer. She only gathered the broken tray, the torn wrapper around her waist, and started picking the few sachets that survived. One by one. Her knees bled. Her pride bled harder. That was when she heard the voice, low, calm, dangerous. "Leave her." Everybody turned. A man stood at the edge of the bridge light. Tall. Well-dressed in black native, gold watch catching the neon like fire. His face was half shadow, but his presence pressed the air out of the whole place. Even Skodo took one step back. The man walked straight to Adana, expensive shoes splashing through the water like he owned the flood. He crouched in front of her, took in the torn wrapper, the bleeding knees, the broken tray. Then he did something nobody expected. He removed his suit jacket and draped it over her shaking shoulders. "What is your name?" His voice was quiet, but it carried like a masquerade drum. "Adana," she whispered, afraid to look up. "Adana, tonight you will not sell one more sachet." He reached into his pocket and brought out a wad of crisp notes, more money than Adana had seen in 2 years. He placed it gently in her torn palm. "This is not charity," he said. "This is a debt. One day, when you are high above all of them, you will remember tonight. And you will pay it forward." Before she could speak, headlights swept the bridge again. A black G-Wagon pulled up. The man stood, nodded once at her, and walked away into the rain. The car swallowed him. Skodo and his boys had vanished like smoke. Adana stood alone under the bridge, clutching the money and the stranger's jacket that still carried warmth and the faint scent of wood perfume. Rain poured harder, but for the first time in years, she smiled through tears. She did not know it yet, but that night under Ojuelegba Bridge was the beginning of everything changing. Before we continue, please subscribe right now and turn on the small bell so YouTube no go hide the next part from you. Because this story dey sweet past jollof, we get plenty meat. His name was Chike Obiora. In Banana Island they called him Junior, but in the streets they whispered Odegu Junior, because his father, Chief Noji Obiora, owned half the tank farms in Opopo and 3 private jets, and a silence so heavy that even governors lowered their voices when he entered a room. Yet that night, for the first time in 28 years, Chike could not sleep. He sat on the balcony of his penthouse in Ikoyi, shirt unbuttoned, glass of Hennessy untouched. Rain hammered the glass walls like angry ancestors. In his hand he kept turning the small thing he had taken from his jacket pocket, one torn piece of cheap blue wrapper, stained with mud and a faint trace of blood. The jacket itself now hung in his wardrobe, still carrying the scent of pure water, sweat, and something sweet he could not name. His best friend, Toby, had laughed when he heard the story the next morning. "Guy, you mean you gave one random bridge girl 2 million naira cash? Just like that?" Chike had only looked at the Lagos skyline and answered, "She looked at me like nobody has ever looked at me. Like she saw the man, not the money." Now, 3 days later, he still could not shake her face. Those eyes, tired but unbroken. That voice, cracked from shouting pure water, yet still soft when she said her name. So he did what Chike Obiora always did when he wanted something, he moved heaven and earth. He called the one person who could find anybody in Lagos within 24 hours. "Uncle Emma," he said into the phone, "I need a girl found. All I have is her first name and the place I saw her. Ojuelegba Bridge, 3 nights ago, around midnight. She sells pure water. Name is Adana." Uncle Emma, head of security for the Obiora Empire and former DSS, laughed until he coughed. "You want me to find one pure water girl in this Lagos? Chike, are you drunk? Just do it. Money is not the problem." Uncle Emma stopped laughing. When Odegu Jr. spoke like that, continents shifted. 5 days later, Uncle Emma walked into the private lounge at the family mansion in Ikoyi and dropped a thin brown file on the table. Her full name is Adana Okeke. 22 years old. Lives in a face me I face you in Makoko. Father drives downfall. Stepmother and stepsister from hell. She studied mass communication at Laspitech but dropped out last year because fees finished. Now she hawks pure water from morning till night to sponsor the stepsister's makeup course. That night you saw her, she almost died under a trailer. Chike opened the file. The first photograph hit him like a slap. Adana at 7 a.m., tray on head, smiling at a customer in traffic. Even in the cheap wrapper, even with exhaustion in her eyes, she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Uncle Emma watched him carefully. "Chike, this girl is from a different world. Your father will skin you alive." Chike closed the file slowly. Then let him try. That same evening, without telling anyone, Chek took the Range Rover himself, no driver, no escort, and drove into the heart of Makoko. The wooden walkways creaked under the weight of the car. Children ran after him shouting, Oyebo! Oyebo, even though he was fully Igbo. He found the house, a rusted zinc compound with one bulb burning blue. He parked, stepped out, and the whole yard went silent. Adana was pounding yam in the backyard, waist moving in that rhythm that had haunted his dreams. She wore a faded t-shirt and wrapper, hair tied with old cloth, yet when she looked up and saw him standing there in designer native and Italian shoes in Makoko mud, her pencil fell from her hand. The jacket, his jacket, was folded neatly on a plastic chair beside her, washed and ironed like it was made of gold. Their eyes locked. Time stopped. Chioma's voice shattered it. She appeared at the door, makeup half done, mouth open like a tilapia. Who is this one? Adana, is this one of your pure water customers coming to beg for credit? Mama Ngozi rushed out next, ready to chase away the intruder, but when she saw the range, the wristwatch, the quiet power on the man's face, her mouth snapped shut. Adana could not speak. She only stared at Chek like he would vanish if she blinked. Chek stepped forward, ignoring everybody else. He stopped right in front of her, close enough to smell the wood smoke in her hair. I came to collect my debt, he said softly. Adana's voice shook. I have been saving. I have 25,000 now. I will pay everything, I swear. He smiled for the first time. A real smile, small and dangerous and warm all at once. I don't want the money back, Adana. He reached into his pocket and brought out the torn piece of wrapper he had kept like treasure. I want the rest of the story. Behind them, Chioma's jealousy rose like smoke from a burning tire. 2 weeks later. Makoko, 7:03 p.m. The compound had never looked this clean. Mama Ngozi had spent 3 full days scrubbing, painting, and borrowing plastic chairs from every neighbor. She even slaughtered their only Christmas goat early. The scent of pepper soup and fried plantain floated over the whole yard like a lie-wearing perfume. Adana stood at the small mirror nailed to the wall, adjusting the new dress Chek had sent her, simple silk, the color of fresh palm wine, cut perfectly for her body. She still couldn't believe it was hers. Her hands shook. Tonight was the night Chief Noji Obioha himself had agreed to meet the girl causing all this noise. Chek had warned her, my father is difficult, but I am more difficult. Just be yourself. Mama Ngozi appeared behind her, smiling the widest, falsest smile Adana had ever seen. Look at you, my daughter. See how fine you are. Tonight you will shame all those Banana Island girls. Come, food is ready. Chioma sat at the table already, wearing a dress tight enough to stop blood circulation, lips painted blood red. She smiled too, but her eyes were dead. They had set the table like a shrine, jollof shining red, pepper soup steaming, pounded yam smooth as cream, one big bowl of egusi with every kind of meat swimming inside. In the center sat a covered ceramic bowl Mama Ngozi kept touching nervously. That one is special soup for the guest of honor, she said sweetly. Only for you, Adana. I cooked it with my own hand. Adana's stomach turned, but she said nothing. She had learned long ago that silence was sometimes the only weapon a poor girl had. 8:17 p.m. Headlights swept the compound. The black G-Wagon rolled in, followed by 2 Prodo Jeeps. Chek stepped out first, handsome enough to stop hearts, then turned to open the door for his father. Chief Noji Obioha was shorter than people expected, but wider than life. Agboda heavy with coral beads, walking stick made of real elephant tusk. His eyes scanned the yard like he was pricing the whole of Makoko and finding it wanting. Yet when he saw Adana standing shyly by the table, something shifted in his face, just for 1 second. Recognition. Curiosity. It was gone too fast to name. Mama Ngozi and Chioma fell over themselves greeting, bowing, nearly kissing the ground. Chief, welcome, sir. God bless you, sir. Our in-law. Chief only nodded and took the seat at the head of the table. Chike sat beside Adana, his hand finding hers under the tablecloth, squeezing once. I am here. Food started moving. Everyone ate and talked and laughed too loud. Chief even cracked one dry joke that made Mama Ngozi slap her thigh like she would die of laughter. Then Mama Ngozi lifted the cover from the special bowl. The scent that rose was rich, dark, dangerous, like perfume hiding a knife. My daughter, she said, voice shaking with fake love, this egusi is for you alone. I put the biggest goat meat, the softest stockfish, everything you like. Eat and show Chief that we know how to take care of our own. She spooned a mountain of the soup into Adana's plate herself. Adana stared at it. Something inside her screamed. Chioma's eyes glittered. She lifted her own spoon like she was about to toast. Chike was watching his father, not the food. Chief Noji leaned forward, voice low and terrible. Young woman, he said to Mama Ngozi, why is that soup smelling like bitter leaf that has been soaked in rat poison? The whole yard froze. Mama Ngozi's smile cracked. Chief, it is just special herbs from my village. Chief lifted one finger. The two silent men in black suits appeared from the prodo. One took the bowl. The other produced a small testing kit, the kind customs use at the airport. 30 silent seconds. The man looked up. Positive for high concentration of sniper insecticide, sir. Enough to kill 3 people. Chioma's spoon clattered to the ground. Mama Ngozi opened her mouth to scream lies, but Chief's voice cut her like a machete. I came here tonight thinking maybe my son had lost his mind over a common girl. Now I see the real rats are wearing human skin. He turned to Adana, and for the first time his voice softened. My daughter, collect your things. You will never sleep under this roof again. Adana couldn't move. Tears filled her eyes, not of sorrow now, but of something bigger, relief, terror, vindication all at once. Chike stood, pulled her gently to her feet. Chioma suddenly lunged across the table like a mad woman. If she's going, I'm going too. I am the one who deserves. Chief's walking stick slammed the table so hard plates jumped. You. He laughed, and the sound was pure winter. You will remain here and enjoy the soup you cooked. He nodded to his men. They forced Chioma and Mama Ngozi into chairs, tied their hands with cable ties smooth as professionals, and placed the poison bowl between them. Chief looked at them one last time. Police will be here in 10 minutes. If I were you, I would start praying that bowl is not as deadly as my people say. Then he turned, took Adana's hand in his own big one, and led her out of the compound into the night. As the G-Wagon pulled away, Adana looked back once. Chioma was screaming, Mama Ngozi was crying, neighbors were gathering with phones recording phones. And the bowl of egusi sat untouched between them, shining like a death crown. Banana Island, 3 nights later. Midnight. Adana could not sleep. She sat on the balcony of the guest wing of the Obioha mansion, wrapped in a silk robe that cost more than her father's downfall. Below her, the lagoon was black glass dotted with the lights of yachts. The air smelled of money and jasmine. Yet her heart was back in that small Makoko yard, hearing Chioma's raw screams and Mama Ngozi's broken sobs as the police van door slammed. Chike found her there, barefoot, eyes swollen. I thought you would be celebrating, he said softly, sitting beside her. You're finally free. Adana shook her head. Freedom bought with somebody else's prison cell is not freedom, Chike. It is just a prettier cage. He was quiet for a long time. Then, what do you want to do? She looked at him, tears shining. I want to go to Karikeri tomorrow. I want to sign whatever paper they need. I want them released into my custody. Not forgiveness yet, just a chance. Chike stared at her like she had lost her mind. Adana, they tried to kill you. I know. But if I let them rot in that place, I become the poison too. The next morning, the entire Obioha household woke up to drama. Chief Noji was in his study reading Punch when Chike and Adana walked in, hand in hand. She knelt proper Igbo daughter-in-law style and greeted him in the deepest voice she could manage. DDM, good morning sir. I have one request. Chief raised one eyebrow. Speak. I want Momangozi and Chioma released from prison. I will drop every charge. I will sign that they live under my supervision. If they offend again, let the law take them. But I cannot start my new life on their graves. Silence stretched so long Adana heard her own heartbeat. Finally Chief closed the newspaper. You are either the wisest woman I have ever met, or the most foolish. Maybe both. He pressed the intercom. Emma, prepare the lawyers. We are going to Kurikiri. That afternoon, the internet nearly broke. Blogs screamed. Billionaire's fiancé free stepmother and stepsister who tried to poison her. Some called her a saint. Others called her Mumu of the century. But nobody was prepared for what happened when the prison gates opened. Momangozi came out first, thinner, grey hair showing, eyes red prison uniform hanging loose. When she saw Adana standing there in simple ankara and dark shades, holding a new nylon bag of clothes, the woman fell on her knees in the dust and began to wail. Not dramatic wail, real, animal pain. Chioma came out last. No makeup, no weave, just swollen eyes and trembling lips. She tried to form pride, but it cracked the moment Adana stepped forward and placed the nylon in her hands. Inside were new clothes, one small Bible, and an envelope containing 250,000 naira. Chioma opened her mouth, maybe to curse, maybe to beg, but nothing came out except a broken sound. Adana spoke quietly, for their ears alone. You owe me a life. Both of you. I am collecting it differently. From today, you will live in the boys' quarters behind this house, a chief's voice in the background said he had already agreed. You will cook, clean, and take care of the garden. You will go for counseling every week. One mistake, just one, and I will not stop the law next time. Momangozi was still crying, forehead touching Adana's feet. Chioma finally found her voice, small and cracked. Why? Adana looked at her for a long time. Because somebody showed me mercy under Ojuelegba bridge one rainy night. And I promised to pay it forward. That evening, the two women moved into the small but clean boys' quarters at the back of the Banana Island mansion. Servants whispered. Aunties gossiped. Blogs kept exploding. But something shifted in the air. A week later, Chike came to find Adana in the garden. Momangozi was on her knees weeding flowers she once would have trampled. Chioma was quietly washing Chike's cars, no phone in hand, no attitude on her face. Chike slipped his arms around Adana from behind. You know they might never change, he murmured. Adana leaned back into him. Maybe. But I have already changed. And that is enough. Far away in the house, Chief Noji watched from his study window, a slow smile spreading across his face. He turned to his lawyer. Start preparing the papers. This girl is going to carry my name higher than any oil block ever could. But that night, while everyone slept, Chioma stood alone in the dark boys' quarters, staring at the envelope of money still unopened on her bed. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She whispered to the darkness, I don't deserve this. And for the first time in her life, the darkness did not answer with jealousy. 6 months later. Banana Island, dawn. The sun rose red over the lagoon the morning Skodo came back. He came with 7 boys, cutlasses hidden under Agboda, eyes hungry for blood and money. Word had reached Makoko that the pure water girl now lived in a mansion and was about to marry Odogwu Jr. Skodo wanted his respect back, and he wanted it in cash or in flesh. They scaled the back fence at 5:12 a.m., silent like rats. But they did not know the house had changed. The first person who saw them was Chioma. She was already awake. She woke every day at 4:30 now, no alarm needed. Old habit from prison. She had been in the kitchen preparing Adana's early morning tea the way Adana liked it, Lipton, 2 spoons of condensed milk, no sugar. Through the window she saw shadows moving across the garden. She did not scream. She did not run to call the guards. Instead, something cold and fierce rose in her chest, the same fire that once fed jealousy now burned for something else. She dropped the tray, grabbed the long kitchen knife she used to slice yam, and slipped out the back door barefoot. Skodo was already at the glass door that led to the main house, raising his cutlass to break the lock, when he felt cold steel against his throat from behind. "Move and I open your neck like Christmas goat," Chioma whispered. The boys froze. They knew that voice, even if they didn't recognize the girl. This was not the proud, loud Chioma of old. This was something quieter. Deadlier. Skodo tried to laugh. "Chioma. You don't join rich people now. You won't betray your own." Chioma pressed the blade harder. A thin line of blood appeared. "I have only one person now," she said. "And you will not touch her." Inside the house, the noise finally woke the guards. Floodlights snapped on. Chief's men poured out with pump actions. In less than 60 seconds the invaders were on their knees, wrists tied, mouths bleeding. Chike and Adana ran downstairs in their night clothes. Adana stopped dead when she saw Chioma standing over Skodo's own cutlass now pointed at his heart, her hand steady, eyes blazing. For a moment nobody spoke. Then Adana walked forward slowly, took the cutlass from Chioma's shaking fingers, and dropped it on the ground. She looked at Skodo and his boys. "Take them to the station," she started. But Chioma cut in, voice low but clear. "Let them go." Everyone turned. Chioma looked straight at Adana. "Let them go with a warning. The way you let me go." Adana stared at her for a long time. Then she nodded to the guards. They cut the boys loose, shoved them toward the gate with one sentence ringing in their ears. "Next time you come here, you will not leave alive." Skodo ran without looking back. When the gate closed, the compound was silent again. Adana turned to Chioma. The two women, once enemies, looked at each other in the gentle morning light. Chioma's voice cracked. "I can never pay the debt. But every day I will try." Adana reached out and touched her cheek, the same cheek she once wanted to slap. "You just did," she said softly. Behind them, Chief Noji stood on the balcony in his robe, watching. He said nothing, but the proud nod he gave was louder than any speech. 3 months later. The wedding was small, just family and close friends, on the same lawn where Chioma once held a knife to save the bride. Chioma was the chief bridesmaid. She wore champagne lace and no makeup except a little gloss. She cried throughout the vows. Mama Ngozi sat in the front row, thinner, quieter, clutching a small handkerchief like it was her last possession. When the priest said, "You may kiss the bride," Chike lifted Adana's veil and whispered against her lips, "You turned poison into medicine." Adana smiled through happy tears. "No," she whispered back. "Mercy did." And somewhere in the back, under the mango tree, the old woman who once sold oranges under Ojuelegba bridge stood unseen, tray empty, smiling with teeth white like egusi seeds. She turned and walked away into the sunrise, her work finished. The hand that once held the knife can one day hold the shield. But only mercy can turn the blade around. Thank you for traveling this road with me. The wicked stepsister is finally at peace. And so are we. Please support us by subscribing to our channel and turn on notifications bell. See you besties on our next story.